Hello, stargazers. Welcome to Down to Earth Astrology. I'm Primal Girl Wellness. This is Miss Jenny, and I am an astrologer. And boy, have we got a month for you. So, April, by anybody's definition, has been yikes. Has just been yikes. May will not be as bad, but it certainly will not be much easier. So, fasten your seatbelts and let's settle in and see what the month's got in store for us. Now, starting with the beginning of the month, from May 1st to May 7th, it's a busy, busy month. So for a moment, I want you to use your imagination, and I want you to picture what would happen if you had a bunch of psychics who took psychedelics and decided to have a week-long vision quest together, right? So imagine, if you could, what could possibly, that could possibly be like, right? Once you've pictured this or imagined this, consider that this is going to be the kind of week that's going to seem exactly like that. I know, right? Now, we have on May 1st, we're starting out with a quarter moon in Aquarius, which will be contra anticia Uranus and conjunct Psyche, the asteroid, at the same time, while Pluto is making its retrograde station to Aquarius, right, on May 3rd. Oh my God. And then after that, we finish the week, which is a scant 6 days after this, right? With a new moon at 18 Taurus, also conjunct Uranus at 22 Taurus. And the thing about it is with these particular combinations, right, this promises to be a spooky week of almost telepathic proportions. So, and all of this is going to happen without warning, right? But also consider that we're going to add to this mix the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction back in April. That's now going to be activated at the same time. Hoo-wee, listen, we're literally going to feel like we're popping in and out of the twilight zone this week. So understand that and hang on to reality as best you can. Also, too, be aware that sudden glimpses behind the veil of illusion, as it's usually hidden from us, may occur. Sudden flashes of insight, telepathy, right? I'm telling you, it's going to be a spooky, surreal Twilight Zone kind of week. So understand that these things are happening everywhere globally because the cosmos and the stars have deemed it so. So you're not, well, I don't know. I mean, you might be going crazy, but this particular week we're going to give you a hall pass on that, and you may not be going crazy this week. It's just, this is, yeah, it's a whole lot of, holy crap, what the hell just happened? Okay, so seeing the future or getting glimpses of information that's normally denied to you is the theme of this week. And it's definitely going to keep us all wondering if we might be losing our minds, because when it happens, it's going to happen fast and without warning. So here's what you need to know about navigating this particular week. First, most important, if you know that you have mental health issues that need medications to manage during stressful times, right? This week is not going to be any exception for that. So double check with other people about what you're seeing, sensing, or experiencing, and do your due diligence about staying on top of your medications and your appointments. This is not the week to optimistically and confidently tell yourself that you're fine and you don't need assistance, help, or management. This is going to be a trying week, even for people who don't have those issues on board and are not as fragile as you are. Okay? Now, because it's going to be a surreal week for everyone and more so for you, make no rash or life-altering decisions right now. And please check in with folks who are more solidly tuned into the world around you for feedback, anytime something weird comes up. Okay? Now, for those of you who don't need medication and pride yourself on being a sure-footed, reality-based master or mistress of the universe, you're about to discover what it might feel like to be schizophrenic, as your normally linear and clean reality line thinking is about to get interrupted by flashes and broadcasts of the "you didn't see this coming" variety. Not all visions are accurate ones. You got to remember that. So do not go and gamble away your life savings on any hunches this week. But do be open to the idea of seeing flashes of truth and insight that might rock your world and challenge your assumptions about people and life. And because this is such a week, here's what we might see this week in our personal lives and in the world at large. So more than the major turning points in action taken this week, also look for the truth of things to be undeniably forced in the open and past the point of no return. The thing that is most important about this phrasing and this week, past the point of no return. Things will get pushed or actions will be taken, whatever's happening this week, literally we have crossed the Rubicon and it will be past to the point of no return. So watch and see what happens, because change is happening. Now, while April was a month of constant challenge and surprises as momentum was unleashed, and geez, right? Like the month couldn't have ended fast enough. And things that were started in March began moving forward with the speed and force of a whirlwind as a result of April's energies, right? So we planted seeds in March, and before them, like literally everything was done. The cake was in the oven and baking by March. Come April is when we open the door and pull it out, and this is what we're dealing with. So with all of that said, this first week of May is going to be like the band playing music as it brings up the end of the parade from the rear. I know you were expecting me to say Titanic, weren't you? If you wanted to cry in April, May might have you laughing in sheer exasperation. Comedic timing can be expected right now, along with dramatic departures, long overdue confessions, and exposures, and more than a few moments of overwhelming clarity of thought and sight. If you were confused about anything before, the fog's going to lift this week, and you won't be confused anymore. This week is dominated by the power of thought, mind magic, and serendipity. So buckle up, Buttercup. This is where the fun and the honest parts begin. The week of May 8th through 17th. Now this week, we're coming off that new moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus from last week, and we're most likely still dealing with the aftershocks of earth-shaking events coming from it in our lives. If you're curious, you can check the house where you carry Taurus to see where you're going to feel it the most. If you don't know your time of birth, use your solar houses. And to use your solar houses, what you do is you make a wheel, put your sun sign on the first house, and then label each house after that in its correct zodiac order, and until you find the house where the sign Taurus shows up. And that's going to be the house of life you're watching for big changes and unexpected twists and turns of fate if you don't know your birth time. Lucky for us, for all of us, this new moon is also, thank God, making a stabilizing sextile to Saturn in Pisces. And this means that anything that happens will be less abrupt and less destructive than it could have been. So count your lucky stars. If things come up, think strategically about how to solve any new problems. Don't let it overwhelm you. Also this week, Mercury will continue flying through the sign Aries as it leaves the North Node and enters Taurus by the end of this week. Now, while Mercury is moving along in its classically speedy Aries way, it will pass Chiron with a conjunction at 20 Aries, and this is going to promise to force discussions that have needed to be brought to the light of day for a long time now. So heartbreak, hard decisions, and breaking the beast, right? Doing the hard thing that people have been avoiding doing because they don't have the backbone to deal with it. These are the things that are going to happen this week when Mercury crosses that Chiron. Hard discussions, hard and necessary discussions, decisions, making the hard decisions, and not the Christine Nome, I shot my puppy because he wasn't a good hunting dog decisions. Sociopaths, man, we got some real psychos and sociopaths in Senate here. Anyway, Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries requires we gather up our courage and have sincere discussions about where the hurting parts are and take responsibility for ourselves. No conflated victimhood or self-pity parties here if you want to get anything good from this set of beautiful aspects. The most important conversations at this time should end with what is right with you, not what is wrong with you. If the only conclusion is a list of your faults, you're having the wrong conversation with the wrong person. This month is about what's right about you. Find someone to help you see it if you can't see it yourself. Now, Mercury will pick up Vesta, the asteroid, by square, and Eros and Psyche also by sextile during this time, and this will create some interesting dynamics. On the one hand, flirty, sexy fun is being signaled everywhere like fishtails, breaking the surface of the water. But at the same time, my friends, there is such a desire for something more meaningful and closer to purity or genuineness in our connection, that many folks are going to fall short of the mark needed to make a connection. So enjoy the fresh air and rush of blood to your heart as it beats a little faster. But know that if you're looking for something real, hookups or affairs at this time will be fast, short, and probably end on a note of tremendous disappointment. You might want to save your best underwear and sexy cologne for another time. This month really isn't offering us anything worth using the good linens for. Also, during this time, Jupiter will hit the fixed star, dun, 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 Algol, also known as Medusa's head. Now, this will lend powerful women more power, and even women who didn't realize they were powerful at all will suddenly come into their own this week. And it will provide shelter, protection, and vindication for sexual assault survivors everywhere. So look for connections to activities involving the forced pregnancy of women and the transit of Algol at this time, also to raise the matter from the shadows and quiet discussions behind the scenes into the light of day for what it is, which is simply pure naked power plays that have been designed to vilify women so that small petty people can stand on their broken spirits to lift themselves up. Because it was never about sex, it was never about pregnancy, it's literally all about power and keeping it from women. So for those of you who are curious, you can also look for the Medusa Algol video I've done at the end of the video for more information about Algol and other ways to examine it other than hysteria. Anyway, now the quarter moon at 25 Leo is going to occur on May 15th, and it will occur trining Chiron. It will occur while Chiron is trining the moon to give the message and vibe of this particular quarter moon more energy to shine on the parts inside ourselves that need recognition and healing. This combination will hit the clarion call notes like a drummer hitting the hi-hat on a drum set. The sun will be conjunct Jupiter and Uranus while setting up a square to a moon in Leo, making this a quarter moon. But in addition, we also have the asteroids Sappho and Psyche coming into play, turning this combination into a grand cross of love power. The pursuit of true love, not lust, is what will drive most of our decisions and actions around this time. Pallas will also be backing into Scorpio on the 17th, putting a fine point on the desire for quality relationships and meaningful lives over things that are beautiful but empty. Sorry, Jeff Bezos, you really missed the mark on this one. Musicians will have incredible power at this time to sway a heart or sway a group more than usual. And since musicians are often the instruments of the goddess, if the goddess can't turn their hearts through these human vessels, she will certainly turn her ankles to teach them a little humility. We are A-okay with that. So look for something important to reach its breaking point here and force an issue or a solid stand on something. In your personal life, this urgency to get clear, honest, and do the right thing to help move everyone's life forward in a positive and good way will be just as strong. When we get to the week of May 18th and through May 25th. Now this week I speak perfect English. I recognize the voice. Hang on a second. This week, we might think we're finally getting a respite from all this emotional jujitsu we've been sporting with until now, but we are not out of the woods yet because now we're heading into a powerful full moon at 2 Sagittarius. Now, this full moon will bring the asteroid Juno front and center while Venus begins to slide into Gemini to oppose it. This will be followed by Jupiter heading into Gemini. And Jupiter is going to have to pass through those last degrees of Taurus to get here. And when it does that, it will also be opposing Pallas Athene, the female warrior goddess of wisdom and women's craft, along with Sappho, the goddess of art, poetry, and female solidarity. Whatever happens this week, you don't want to be on the confrontational side of women in your personal life or globally, or their right to autonomy or equal power. Because when the penny drops this week, and Jupiter changes signs and goes into Gemini, you won't be able to go back and change the trajectory of the consequences of your actions. This full moon will be making a supportive and healing trine to Pluto retrograde, and this will help keep the temperatures of people's emotions cool and manageable. Thank God, right? This full moon, With Venus opposing this full moon, we can expect relationships and our relationships with young women to be at the heart of what concerns us. There is something at stake here, but that needs to be discussed with more honesty and less manipulating to win an argument. And this full moon might finally bring the less visible, but equally or more important issues to light. The full moon in Sagittarius is about the future, and whatever these discussions are, they're about the future for everyone as a group, a team, or a human race. The impact of Jupiter in Gemini is also, by the way, made more huge by the simultaneous entry of Venus into Gemini and the Sun into Gemini as part of a full moon. Now, at this time, expect this to be a noisy, busy time that's going to give us all a strong need to come up for emotional air and to carve out some psychological space around us. Freedom will become an important word this time, as well as the power of words and the definition of deception, which will include sins of omission, where we technically don't lie, but we still deceive because we're withholding information deliberately. Now more than ever, it will become a primary source of contention and punitive response. Actions have consequences. People are not playing around anymore, and the classic Gemini dance around the truth hustlers are going to get their comeuppance under this full moon. Actions have consequences. They call it karma. Now, if we move forward, look for a prioritization of education, youth, communities as tribe or family, infrastructure, and relationships with neighbors, both at home and abroad. With the recent development and release of AI technologies, deep fakes as they call them, will be in their golden era until Jupiter moves into Cancer. Look for information and deep fakes to fly fast and furious until then, because Gemini, with Jupiter moving into Gemini, and this heavy Gemini emphasis from this half of the month moving forward, Gemini rules copies, copycats, duplicity, and imitations of things. Everything is about to change in big ways on a pivot that's barely more noticeable than the head of a pin. We may see, keep your eyes and ears open. Jupiter also rules, by the way, libraries, books, bridges, connections, small aircraft, automobiles, roads, and bicycles. We may see big developments and advances in how we travel for the better, no thanks to the CEO at Boeing who made flying so unsafe for everyone that it could have been a fictitious dark comedy sketch. In your personal life, look for the house that Jupiter has moved into. And again, if you don't know your time of birth, it's fine. Set up a solar house, put your sun sign on the ascendant, and then look for where Gemini shows up when you're labeling these houses in consecutive order. And that's where you're going to see the impact of Jupiter entering Gemini and where it's really going to blow things up in your life. Okay. Also, too, understand that Gemini is, they're a little flighty, the short attention span theater there. And not really rooted or grounded, not solid, very ephemeral. Gemini rules the winds, right? The winds and clouds and air and breezes, butterflies, bees, small moving things, right? Shiny things, ooh, shiny, cats. So with Jupiter and Gemini, it's going to bring us all sorts of stuff. And it may seem like literally a three-ring circus happening or a carnival sideshow, traveling to carnival sideshow, because everything that comes with Jupiter and Gemini is in the mind. It's of the mind. It's in the air. It's in the winds. It's not something that's designed to last or have enough strength or fortitude to be there for the long haul. So understand that too when you look at Jupiter and Gemini and where it's sitting in the houses in your chart. Okay, so you'll get some benefits and blessings, but it'll all be very temporal and very quick moving. So easy come, easy go. All right, and when we get to the week of May 26th through May 30th, we will be closing the month with another quarter moon on May 30th at 9 Pisces. Now, this quarter moon is going to square Venus in Gemini and start its square to Jupiter in Gemini, setting up an irritable T-square of legendary proportions. Sun, Moon, and Venus will all be in their natural sign decanates, making these mutable energies even more mutable than ever, which equals confusion and feeling like you're standing in the middle of a busy train station trying to get on the right train with too much conflicting information coming from all sides around you. Right? Everybody's got an opinion, and nobody's right. Okay, so this is not going to be a fun quarter moon. And if you want to be productive, maybe it's a thing, just thought you might want to be productive. Double check all your plans and instructions twice before starting anything, and absolutely be deliberate about making sure that the plan is flexible enough to handle last minute changes. because that is definitely this last week of the month. Now, and just for the record, your sanity is going to depend on this. So if you're actually trying to be productive, this is the only way you're going to do it without losing your mind. Okay, now what's good about this week and this quarter moon is that the quarter moon will also oppose the asteroids Juno and trine Eros. And this will give us fine and flirty potential partners to keep the energy light and springy. And who doesn't love that? They might still flake out on us at the last minute, but honestly, we're not going to care. The diversion itself that they give us is going to be nice, and it's going to help us deal with the chaos that we're surrounded by in every other respect at this moment. Oh my God, like literally like standing in a train station, not knowing how to get where you need to go. This Mercury conjunct Uranus will also trine the asteroid Ceres and oppose Sappho and Pallas. This is a eureka aspect, and there may be some sudden turns of events where issues involving food or farmers or farming areas, countries, nations is involved, but for the better. And the challenges we'll be looking at challenges, when it comes to the arts, higher education, and what's considered fair and the right in the world. So this is definitely, instead of all of the chaos that we're going to find this week, this is going to be a great week for doing the right things. So let's see what happens. And here we're going to close this out with your asteroid notes for the month. So Vesta will be in Cancer from 10 to 21 degrees, and Ceres will be in Capricorn. This will be in Cancer, and Ceres will be in Capricorn from 20 to 21 degrees. And both of these are going to set up a T-square to Chiron in Aries at 20 to 22 degrees by the end of the month. So just on a really superficial level, some things we can expect are food prices, food availability, and food quality or safety to become a very loud topic this month. Issues of food scarcity will be front and center as well. And questions about who belongs here will also flare up this month. And it absolutely could be a direct result of food scarcity concerns. Anytime resources tighten up, everybody becomes very tribal, and then it becomes, us versus those people who don't belong here. Because we get very short-sighted when we're that stressed out and, we're looking at going hungry. Okay, now Juno, the asteroid Juno, will be in Virgo from 6 to 10 degrees. And it's a bit of an outlier this month. So its only real activity are going to be trines to the Sun and Venus in Taurus early in the month, and a square to Sappho at the beginning of the month. Now, married folks may find that marriage is for practical reasons. It's marriage. But this is going to be highlighted now, right, with Juno this month. So there is security in being married for practical reasons, but the lack of romance and poetry in relationships could become a source of serious irritation. Juno will be making a sextile to Vesta, so making a marriage work in a ritualistic, going through the motion sort of way may be the only way to get through this month for married folks or living together folks, committed folks, until or unless they're ready to address the real issues between them. So this month, married people may be more miserable than usual, and the reality is they're not going to go anywhere, and this may be a month where they just buckle down and decide that we're just going to, if we have to go through the motions, we'll go through the motions until we can come up with a better solution, right? Or things are a little less terrifying outside that door. Now, single folks, if you're single, you're probably going to have a hard time finding romantic love this month. I mean, unless you're all about flings, right? Hookups. Now, and this is going to be because everything and everyone is going to seem to be about the practical side of partnering with each other. The whole, what do you bring to the table? It's going to be a more full-throated and openly asked question this month than usual. So for those of you who want more than a transactional relationship, this might be a good time to focus on yourself as a single person for a little while longer, because honestly, going to be a whole lot of mercenary approaches to relationships this month. So, if you actually want somebody to have a deep, emotional, romantic interest in you, this is probably not the month to find that. I'm just saying, I don't know. Okay, so my dears, that is the May horoscopes. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. In brief, May is a turning point. Right, May's turning point. So we've already started, this trajectory's already started back since February, March. Like we've been working up to this point, but right about the middle of the month when everything starts to shift over, right, into Gemini is when we really turn a corner and things get really, really, weird and fast, right? The thing to remember about Gemini is Gemini moves fast. Gemini's the air, the breeze, right? And things aren't built to last under Gemini. Gemini is the connector. Gemini is the thing that connects one thing to another, the bridge, the roadway, the journalist, the here and now, right, kind of thing. Any news that's 5 minutes old is old news. So there's that. Also, too, Gemini rules journalists. I forgot to mention Gemini rules journalists and journalism. So we may be seeing a lot more conversations about journalists and the value and importance of journalism, or some breakthroughs where how we disseminate information is concerned. Which would be very important. But I suspect there's a lot that's going to happen this month. There's going to be conversations about education in the lower grades, right? Not college, but elementary, middle, and high school. So we'll see what that's about. And I think that pretty much covers it. So, take a breath, especially the first week is going to be weird as fuck, right? Like weird. Twilight Zone weird. And the end of the month, it's cleanup. It's all cleanup. So, manage the best you can. Better days are coming. Right now we're on the downward slope of just total chaos from April. But we'll get there. Luckily, it's a slide, into normalcy as opposed to a sharp drop off a cliff. So take that for what it's worth. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.